Shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Harakakwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, rule and teach well, and honors and salutations to the men of the Lord doing the same and teaching the same. All right, so shalom, shalom. This is doing defending the gospel, defending the truth, but also edifying the sheep, edifying the Lord's elect. All right, hopefully elect, and Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. All right, but what motivated this sit down was I was watching. This was earlier today. I was watching Fresh and Fit. You know, when they debates or whatever. You know how they be getting on, correcting and exposing women on their bullshit, all right, and the double standards and how society and benefits women more than men, and how feminism has destroyed the nucleus family and all that stuff. But it had an Edomite walked up, and he butchered the scriptures. He was butchering the scriptures. He was quoting scriptures, and he was butchering them. All right, and he said some totally off, abominable shit. All right, so he quoted, the Edomite quoted Genesis 1 and around the 25th verse. All right, when it goes into the Elohim, created man in which I'm gonna go to it, created man in their own image. All right, and he don't understand what they're saying. All right, so basically the Edomite was defending, he was simping and defending women, and he was saying that women are created in the image of God. Okay, so that's what the Edomite was saying, and that's totally out of order. That's off. All right. So in so many words, the Edomite was saying that which is nothing but confusion and wickedness. He was saying that God is half man and half woman. That's what he was saying. Okay, which is wickedness and off. All right. So about to defend Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah in his word, and rightly divide the scriptures. All right. So I just started with this precept because I'm gonna try to make this quick as possible. All right. So this Ecclesiastes 7:29. Lo, this only have I found, that the Most High hath made man upright. Okay. So how did the Lord make man upright? Specifically the Israelite man, okay? Because before we was known as Hebrew Israelites, we was known as the sons of God, all right? So that man that was put eastward in Eden, which that's the Holy Land, all right, Jerusalem, okay? That was Adam, all right? Yahweh Shah, to be specific, all right? Because mankind was called Adam, okay, but that man that was put eastward in Eden, that was Yahweh Shah, all right. So the Israelites was put in the chosen land in Jerusalem, all right, even from the beginning, okay, of what Esau, the so-called white man, calls the Fertile Crescent, all right. So it says Ecclesiastes 7:29. All right. Lo, this only have I found, that the Most High have made man upright. How? By giving him laws, statutes, and commandments, giving him order. Okay. All right. That way we can be like-minded. All right. Be like-minded with Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah. Okay. And it says but they have sought out many inventions. Yeah. Okay. With thanks to that serpent, the so-called white man, that old serpent, the devil, and Satan, which was Esau, the so-called white man. But back then, in the book of Genesis, Esau had color. All right, that old serpent, he had color, but the Lord cursed him with leprosy. All right, that curse of Cain, which Cain is, the forefather, all right, of the wicked, of Esau, the so-called white man. Okay, so it says, hold on, I got to press. I'm gonna have to cut it off and cut it back on because it be freezing. All right. So let's go to the next precept. And it's not in order, but they all on the same topic. All right. So this Genesis 2:7. All right. And the Lord Yahweh of the Elohim, okay, and the Elohim are angels, okay, because in Genesis 1, that God in Genesis 1 is plural when you go into the blue letter, all right, so that goes into the Elohim, all right, and other books of the Bible and the New Testament as well prove that, Yahweh Shah, who the world falsely called Jesus Christ, is not his name. Yahweh Shah and the angels, created everything you see and don't see, but they was given orders and instructions and the blueprint from the Most High, who the world called God. His true name is Yahweh. Okay, so it says, and the Lord Yahweh of the Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. All right, and man became a living soul. Okay, so that was what, the Holy Spirit, wisdom. Okay, all right, giving us what, order, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Okay, and law, statutes, and commandments, because before the commandments was written down on stone, before that, it was taught orally. Okay, it was taught verbally. Okay, all right, and before Eve was beguiled by that serpent, Esau, the so-called white man, and caused Adam to go off too. All right, and them dealing with different beliefs and philosophies and things of that nature. All right, before that, we never went off. All right, as a people. Okay, worshiping other gods and things like that. We never went off. We had never sinned until that point. Okay. All right, so let me go. All right. Go to the next precept. And that's why you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans should not be learning the Bible from the so-called white man. Okay? Because he's going to lead you astray. All right? And nobody was correcting that Edomite. That was totally out of order and complete wickedness what he was saying. But he was being a simp. He was being a simp, and just totally butchering the scriptures, mangling the scriptures and just adding and taking away from the Bible, all right, and misinterpreting, all right, the scriptures, okay? So that's why I'm doing this sit down, because once I watched that, I was like, oh no, I got to do a sit down on that. That Edomite tweaking. All right, Yeah, the shit had pissed me off. But this Colossians 3 and 10, Colossians 3 and 10, it says, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge, all right, after the image of him that created him. All right, and I'm going to go into that word image. I already got it pulled up in the blue letter, but I got to just bring it up. All right. So which is renewed in knowledge after the mind, after the image of him that created him, right? So when you renewed in knowledge, okay, you're going to be like-minded with the Lord, okay? You're going to understand the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. You're going to be like-minded like the Lord, all right? The scripture says we have the mind of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, okay? Now to the unlearned that don't know the precept, it says, I'm going to say it plainly, it says we have the mind of Christ, okay? Which we understand, that just means anointed, all right? All right, but in the Hebrew it's Hamashiach, okay? So the elect, all right, they're going to have the mind of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, okay? What does that mean? That means they're going to be on one accord with the Lord. They're going to be like-minded with the Lord, okay? They're going to be, their minds and spirit is going to be in agreement. Mind, body, and soul is going to be in agreement with Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, all right? Because when it's an old saying, when you're taking care of your spirit, all right, it's going to show in your flesh, all right? It's going to show in your flesh. You're going to look healthy. Your skin going to look healthy. You're not going to look dead in the face. You're not going to look extremely 400 pounds, 500 pounds, looking crazy. All type of health ailments. Health issues and ailments, all right? And illnesses, okay? So when your spirit is right, it shows in the physical. It shows in your body. All right. That's why you can spot out a wicked woman. A wicked woman be looking like a damn witch. Raccoon ass eyes. Her eyelashes are 40 yards long. Her weave got nets. Playing pogo stick on her hair and shit. Weave be itching. They be having to hit their hair with a broom. All right. But yeah, So it says it's like this not all the precepts I wanted to get, but trying to make it quick as possible. All right, and Lord willing, it's edifying. This is for the elect, so I don't care if scoffers going to be like, you're saying that, you're breaking the scriptures down wrong. You scoffers, none of the wicked shall understand. The Lord's ways are plain unto the just, but they're stumbling blocks unto the wicked. So those of you in the world, it's not going to make sense to you. Okay, it wasn't meant for it to make sense to you. All right, so it says. Make sure we Salakia, Satan. Lord willing, the audio good, but the damn audio wasn't even turned up. All right, so Lord willing, it was good. So First Corinthians 11:7. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of the Most High Yahweh, but the woman is the glory of the man. For the man is not of the woman. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Okay? And no, the woman wasn't formed of the rib of a man. Okay? When it says that in Genesis, Eve was just a part, of that tribe. She was kin. Eve was kin to Adam. That's all that's saying when it's, when the Lord you know, took the rib and closed up. That's talking about Eve being kin to Adam, of, you know, close kin, so to speak. All right. You know, so that's why they was naked. That's, you know, which naked represents in sin, you know, because there was close kin. All right. So it says um but it says verse 9. I read it already. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Okay. And that cuts all those simps. You wouldn't believe how many men actually um be simping for women, and this 2025. All right. And then when you see them, you don't even be shocked. All right. It's easy to point out a simp. Okay. When you see them, you don't even be shocked. You be like, no wonder. No wonder, bro. No wonder. All right. But let's see. All right. All right, got that one. And I wanted to get that one too. Okay.